Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, are organisms that have been artificially constructed via genetic engineering methods. The purpose of these organisms is to provide a better, stronger, and more resistant variety of a natural found organism, whether that be a plant or animal. More and more GMOs are being produced to be put on supermarket shelves, and an ever-increasing amount of companies have begun to invest in this genetic research. Many ethical, economic, and biological problems have been discovered very recently about GMOs, as well as many positive effects. We have reached a curious crossroads between agricultural and biological engineering and the ethics of our society. What should we do about GMOs?
Genetic engineering is an extremely new practice, starting up around 1980s. Therefore, there are many questions about it. What is the history of GMOs? What regulations exist on GMOs? What companies are researching and producing them, and are they being responsible about it? But most importantly, are they useful or harmful to our society's health, and what should we think about them?
Genetically altered organisms have actually been around for several thousands of years via artificial selection or selective breeding. Early humans bred wolves with the most beneficial traits together in order to slowly form dogs with better companionship and hunting characteristics. The same happened to a great majority of all of our modern crops. Wheat, corn, rice, squash, watermelon, and many more plants have been slowly changed to be larger and more nutritious over thousands of years by humans.
However, GM crops are a little different. Instead of matching the best traits of the same species, we now have the ability to insert genes from other foreign species. This can be extremely useful when modifying species to do better in a specific environment or to perform a specific task. For example, the flavor savor tomato was created by inserting a gene from E. coli that prevents a tomato from shriveling up, greatly increasing its shelf life. This process can be helpful or harmful, depending upon what gene was inserted and what unintentional negative effect became of it. Therefore, it is very important to understand the effects of the organism on the human body.
But what companies are the ones in question? Monsanto, DuPont, and Land O'Lakes are all massive seed companies that heavily invest in genetic research in order to produce better crops. But all of them, especially Monsanto, invest even more into pesticides. It is believed that their drive to genetically modify crops does not come from a good will to help feed the world, but from an economic drive to sell their pesticides. This, in addition to GM companies producing terminating seeds in order to short-change farmers, is one of the major arguments against GMOs. Although the argument is not about the plants or animals themselves, it is still a completely valid reason to protest GMOs.
Finally, we reach the ethical implications of GMOs. There are both positives and negatives, and each side has a valid reason for that specific stance. Some pros consist of resistance to insects, healthier crops, lower risk of crop failure, more resistance to extreme weather, longer shelf life, tolerance to heat, cold, and drought, stronger colors, elimination of seeds, and vibrant colors, in addition to edible vaccines. However, there are some negatives to these potentially new, dangerous organisms. For example, some of the leading cons are that allergens could be included unknowingly in the plant, and inclusion of chemicals that could lead to cancer. In addition, organisms in the ecosystem could be harmed. Given that some GM foods are modified using bacteria and viruses, there is a fear that we will see the emergence of new diseases. Overall, it will ultimately be up to society whether or not to redefine the line between man and nature, and to what extent.